Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, after a 4-0 victory over the St. Louis Blues. A beautiful kind of retribution from 8 days ago when the Sharks were shut out 4-0. Today, Dell gets the shot at redemption and throws a 4-0 shutout back at the St. Louis Blues. So this is literally a best of three, kids. And the best part about it is the third game to take all the marbles will be March 9th at SAP Center, and just happens to be Teal Town USA Day at the Tank. So with that, thanks for coming in. Thanks for checking out the show. It's Teal Town USA After Dark. We go live after every single Sharks game. So follow along on Twitter, on Instagram, both of them at Teal Town USA, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell to find out every time we go live, because not only do we go live after Sharks games, every once in a while we get a little freaky and we'll just go live just, whenever the mood strikes us. So with me tonight, my pucknologist cohort and fiend, Rocket Backhander.
I am the bad decision that ultimately cost you and your team the game. Rocket Backhander, I'm excited to be here.
And gentlemen, we haven't seen for a little while, Mr. One, Alex Martinet.
Hey. Still don't have anything in my background, but happy to join.
I know. I feel like your background should have a big hockey fights cancer patch on it right now, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So before we get to the chat, which we will, don't worry, you can start throwing up your questions here in a moment, but let's dial in this game. First period didn't start off great. 48 seconds in, Couture gets called for tripping, and Sharks were able to kill it. But after that little tete-a-tete from that trip, it would be kind of just a back and forth. A lot of the game played in the neutral zone, to be honest. And until finally, with 20 seconds left in the period, Perron would go off for interfering with Donskoy. The Sharks finally getting a call. If you watch the game, you heard Baker and Hedekin both say that there was probably 3 to 4 interference calls that could have been called that weren't in the Sharks' favor. But the first period would end face-offs, 45% for the Sharks, 55 for the Blues, but shots on goal, 14 for San Jose, 9 for St. Louis. Rocket, aside from, going over for both teams, what did you take from that first period? Were you just kind of like, well, you know what? St. Louis didn't score and Dell looks good, so we're fine? Or what are you digging? And, okay. All right. I'm sorry. Kayla is active tonight. She got into the cocaine stash or something. I don't know what is going on. Usually she's sacked out, and tonight she's very active. But I'm sorry, Rocket. Go ahead.
It's okay. I think Toby probably got her all riled up or something.
Probably.
That cat's an evil bastard. What I took from this first period, Dell made some real key saves there, and I think that the decision to put Dell in net tonight was definitely a shot at redemption for that 4-0 loss against St. Louis last week. I think it was like, okay, let's go out there and mulligan this one, if you will. And there was definitely not as many awkward moments as there have been in recent games with the Sharks. They really looked solid, speedy, comfortable on home ice. It was nice to see full strength out there.
I would totally agree with you. I really appreciate the fact that Peter DeBoer essentially gave Dell and not that we could, that you can blame that entire game on Dell by any stretch a week ago, but I love the fact that PDB said, you know what, let's get you in there again. Let's give this entire team the opportunity to redeem themselves from what I believe, I have to go look it up, I believe might have been the only time the Sharks were shut out so far this season. So what did you like? We know that Martinet is a connoisseur of goaltenders. So what did you think?
I guess that's my official title now. Cool. But okay, so I think I was more impressed when Dell got the 3-0 lead and didn't let in the easier goal. The easy goal that just happens to go into the net that we've seen a lot with Jones this season. I think he was really good on the rebound control, allowing the defense to at least get the puck to that way. But yeah, I think in terms of Dell, this was always a planned start because Jones started the last 4 games, and this was his night off. And I'm really glad things matched up in a way where Dell is facing the same team twice.
Yeah. And I mean, Chris is mentioning it in the chat. Dell right now, statistically, he's playing better than Jones. Granted, Jones is seeing more games and maybe not getting to hung out as dry as often, but we saw this previously. I mean, how many times Gen X, I love you in the chat. How many times have we seen the starting minder that it turns into a little bit of goalie controversy because the backup is putting up better numbers, but nobody puts it in context and says, well, the backup is also not playing as many games. He might be a little fresher. The other thing being is that sometimes the guys in front of the goalie play a slightly different game because maybe they don't trust the backup as much. So they work a little more in the defensive zone, or maybe the forwards drop back a little bit more to help the defenders get the puck out. It's a lot of you could go back and look at some of those games in Niemi and Stalock and whatnot. I'm just saying it's something that you could. Yeah, but I'm just saying it's something that you can debate. The numbers, bear it out. So let's get into the second. 1 minute, 42 seconds in, LeBanc gets called. I'm sorry, LeBanc was actually tripped, and okay.
Way to take a lazy penalty, Kevin. Good job.
No. It was no. That was my bad. That was not LeBanc's bad. Perron was called for interference with 22 seconds left in the first. So when the Sharks came out for the second period, they were on the power play for about 1:40. But the best part, it didn't look great. But right as the power play ended for the Sharks, LeBanc would get tripped as the power play expired, put the Sharks back on the power play, and boom, with about 10 seconds left, EC65 would get his first goal as a Shark. Funnily enough, EC65 gets his first goal as a Shark 65 days into being a Shark. Take that, Illuminati numerology people. But it's on the power play. He bombs the rebound back in. But yeah, 65 days after being traded. I thought that was great. And it might have been better had, the Sharks Jumbotron rocket. If those graphics people knew how to spell Eric, it's not like we don't have two goofballs on this show regularly telling us the proper way to spell the name.
It's not like they've had 65 days to edit this graphic.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. I think LeBanc was the 62nd goal, and they played their last game when there was 62 games, or it was 62nd goal of the season. So
yeah, LeBanc with the 62nd goal this season. So that's, it's funny. So for all you Illuminati numerology people out there, enjoy.
Sorry, I had to.
I can't put into. I literally cannot properly express how much I love Rocket. I'm just saying. So, my only offering for that is there. You go. So, EK65 gets his first finally. 21st. So, just a short 3 minutes after that, Joe Pavelski would bang in a bouncing puck that came off Meyer's skate, courtesy of Meyer and Couture. And oh my God, this is like goal 12 for Pavelski already, like already tying Meyer and Rocket. It feels like Pavelski might kind of be like playing for a new contract.
Yeah, you think it might be a contract year?
Maybe a scotch?
Maybe just a scotch. I don't know. I think that there has a lot to do with, I mean, yeah, it is a contract year, but on top of that, he's got some really good line mates this year. And the better your line mates, the better line mates you have, the more opportunities open up to you to make more scoring chances and even more successful scoring chances that lead to better numbers. So, I mean, it's just a matter of being in the right place at the right time. And he is the man. He is the man for our time and our place.
And that's without Thomas Hertl, too.
And that's without Tomas Hertl.
Yeah, but Pavelski never plays with Hertl. I mean, you make that point that Pavelski's had some great line mates, which I would agree with. I mean, he's been out there with Kane and Donskoy. He's been out there with Thornton and LeBanc. I mean, the thing is that you have to give credit to Pavelski is that the guys that he has played with so far this season, it has been a little bit of a rotating door. So he hasn't had a lot of consistency with the guys that he has played with. So the fact that he is pulling this off, you know, it's one game he's playing center, the next game, like tonight, he's on the wing with Couture and Meyer. So he did a fantastic job of impersonating Hertl tonight, I thought.
You know, when the contract situation goes around, I'm assuming this is Joe Thornton's last season, and that's probably what's going to help keep Pavelski on the team this year. It just kind of depends on how long the contract is.
Now, when you say that it's Thornton's last season, you mean as a Shark or?
You never really know, but like I think because of his knees, the surgeries, this is his retirement year.
What? So his nephews have nothing to do with it. It's all about his knees.
I mean, if you can't play the game, then your value isn't going to be $6 million a year, or was it $7 million a year?
Okay, Rocket got that one. Okay, we move on to.
I don't think Joe Thornton is close to retiring this year. He's got another season. If he stays healthy and uninjured this season, he's got another season or two left in him before he hangs up the skates. He's not going to go out in like a blaze of glory. He's going to go until his feet
dragging
fall
and kicking.
Off.
Yeah. Dragging and kicking off the stage. I would agree with you, Rock. I think that that Thornton is probably a Shark for another season. And two things help that. He loves playing in San Jose, and he's on a 1-year deal. And so you can look at that and say, well, he's already taken the home down discount. It'd be tough to say that he might not take it again, especially if they throw a little chunk of change at Pavelski. It's going to be fun. Going to be fun to see how Doug Wilson handles 2018 offseason.
I hope that Thornton's still around, but I just don't see a team with Pavelski's contract coming up where they're going to find the cap. Is Joe Thornton really going to take a $3 million pay cut next season? I don't think so. So
who knows? He might, but let's be honest. It all comes down to what EK65 gets because this is the end of it. That's where all the focus is going to be. And you know that he's going to be looking for the Drew Doughty deal. He's going to be looking for, 11 mil.
Yeah.
So that's, to me, is what is going to drive what happens.
Now, Meyer's next season, or is this his contract year, Meyer?
Oh, that's a good question. Instead, what would be really good is that instead of asking me those type of questions, is that if you just actually look them up before throwing those questions at me. I'm just saying.
I'm making it
like
more
I don't want to be that guy. Yeah,
but
you can probably just look it up. But you are correct. This is Meyer's last season, and he is making a whopping $894,000.
Oh my God!
So he's going to get. That's just one more player that, like, if you think about it, there's a couple people that are on this team right now that probably won't be on this team, and that's the whole thing. Thornton is only, is only making $5 million. And Meyer's going to be, it's going to be restricted, but still, you have to look at Thornton, but you also have to look at Pavelski, who's making $6 million. And this is something that I think we'll probably get into a little bit down the line. Is as the summer approaches, is that maybe Doug Wilson put too many of his eggs in one basket by giving Burns and Vlasic these ridiculously long deals. Kane and Couture, these are long deals. Kane and Couture, you know what? Couture, absolutely. Kane, well, you know what? Kane probably wouldn't have stayed unless he'd gotten that deal. And Vlasic, I don't know. Maybe you could have gotten Vlasic for a year or two less. I don't know. Burns, of course, wanted the big cash. Either way, my point being is that Doug Wilson, this offseason could end up being the most pivotal. Yep. I'm just saying. It's going to be really interesting, especially if Meyer continues on the tear that he has been. And, Chris is saying, hey, we have control. It's fine. Control is one thing. Money is different. So we will see. We need to move on through. We still haven't even got through the second period, people. So through the second period. Okay, hold on. I got little Miss K back here, like shaking the table, makes me think there's an earthquake. So a whopping minute 15 after Pavelski would bang in that fluky bounce off of Meyer's skate, Kane to Erik Karlsson, back to Kane. Booyah. Kane drills it. You talk about, first off, I mean, Karlsson, you look at the last 4 or 5 games, he's been contributing on the assists. So good. I hope that Erik Karlsson's goal tonight kind of like just releases the pressure that he's been under to score, and then you just see, and then just goals come aplenty. Because remember, the Sharks right now, longest home stand that they have, game 4 of 6. Then they get to go out on the road for 5. So this, let's get Karlsson used to scoring now. But Kane to Karlsson to Kane, it was beautiful. And after this, at 7:45 of the second period is when the Blues decided maybe we should take a timeout, Rocket, and reassess where we believe we are in our lives while we're still scraping the bottom of the Central Division.
I wasn't sure if they just needed to kind of calm down for a hot second, or if they were tired, or if they just needed to switch out their food snacks, something. You don't really see. Man, I don't know. Maybe they coaching staff maybe had a two like a plan A and a plan B for how to go through second period, and they went with plan A. And when they realized that deploying plan A wasn't working, they had to take their time out and be like, okay, it's time to follow the plan B. And they went over some hot points that they probably discussed in the intermission, and then went forward from there. Makes sense.
I'll take that. Before we get to Alex's take on how the second shook out for the Sharks, just want to welcome the 43 of you watching now on YouTube. Throw it out there like I always do. Please do us a favor. Hit the subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. Follow us at Teal Town USA on Twitter and Instagram. And what's so funny?
Oh, just another Randy G in the chat. What was plan B? Do the exact same thing. Yeah, but slightly to the left.
Oh man, what's freakier, AJ and Rocket backhander wearing the same sweaters, or EC65 scoring the 65th goal of the season? Illuminati, my friend. Don't forget LeBanc with the 62nd goal of the Sharks season this year. But yes, do us a favor if you would. Hit the subscribe button, share it among your friends, follow us SoundCloud, basically any podcast, any audio type of a thing. There you go. Thank you very much. Alex, your take on the Sharks potting 3 goals in 4 minutes and 11 seconds of the second period.
Yeah, I was actually kind of impressed. I thought they kind of started out the first period pretty slow, and seeing them actually jump ahead in the second period is something we've actually, it's been a little bit inconsistent of. Couture had 2 assists that period, and he's been really good this season. Like this is one of his most consistent seasons so far. It's always good to see Karlsson get going. Last 3 or 4 games, I always thought he was on the edge on getting going. Pavelski kept on stealing goals from him with tips in front every couple of games. So I just felt like it was about time to see him actually be better in the unit. I'm more concerned with Karlsson just on his defensive side, because there's times when he's just not skating with the forward, and that's why you kind of see the defense the way it was the first quarter of the season. So,
and now let's just kind of pick and choose a really couple funny moments from tonight. First off, this was the 100th meeting overall between the Sharks and the Blues, between those two franchises, which is kind of fun, especially if you dial it back. Look at 2000, look at 2001, look at the 2016 playoff run that got the Sharks to the Stanley Cup final. There have been some great playoff matchups between these two teams. A lot of people focus on Detroit because that was the first time the Sharks went, but the Blues and the Sharks might have really had some of the best playoff matchups. But 100th meeting overall. Fun part about this, going into the third now, at 11:59, Pavelski would snipe an absolute roof job on a beautiful cross pass from Couture that came from Meyer. Pavelski, 9 points in 4 games. Like I said, contract year. Pavelski tying Heatley for 13 goals in the first 21 games of the season. Yeah, Rocket, we love to talk about people playing in contract years. Do you think that this is Pavelski kind of like pushing the Sharks to go? Now, granted, and this is something that both of us love to say, is this is not sustainable. But if Pavelski is able to roll this going forward, that would put him over the 40-goal mark for 82 games. If he's able to sustain a scotch of this, does that make how much harder does that make Doug Wilson's job? Because I'm one of those guys where I'd rather lose a guy a year too early rather than a year too late. I was one of those guys who was not happy with Paul Martin's deal. I thought it was a year too early or a year too much. I thought it should have been 3 instead of 4. Sure. And we all saw what happened.
Sure.
Yeah.
But what do you what do you think of the captain? He keeps playing in different, whether he's on the wing, he's at the center, playing with different line mates. Have you ever seen a guy basically throw up a contract year so far through 20 games?
Have I ever seen a guy? I'm not quite sure. Okay.
This guy is battling for his contract.
I don't think he is. I think he generally just wants to have a good, solid season. And yeah, it is a contract year, and that puts due pressure on him. But I think that it's not the motivating pressure. I think if anything, he tries to block that out of his mind because it's just not something he needs to think about. Especially, he's just trying to get everybody on the same page, and you're still trying to get Erik Karlsson all settled in and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Sleepy Mofo.
Sleepy.
We're all gonna pour out a little bit of a burrito tomorrow in honor of Paul Martin's retirement. I'll pour out a little bit of orange sauce tomorrow, and unless you're Rocket, then it's a little green sauce. But
it's a little green sauce.
Little green sauce. Now, the thing that I want to touch on, and some people might go, okay, don't rain on our parade, but it was just 8 days ago that the Blues shut out the Sharks at what is the name of their screwed up joint? Enterprise?
Come on, AJ. Don't you want to look this up before the show?
No, it's Enterprise.
Enterprise? You mean
you do realize that the eject button anyway. So they shut out at Enterprise. And the funny thing that was pointed out about this is that the Sharks were shut out 4-0 at Enterprise in St. Louis after playing the night before when the Blues didn't. Tonight, the Sharks did not play the night before. St. Louis did, and they were shut out 4-0. So it was a very kind of even thing. Again, I go back to March 9th is the end-all be-all for this series, and it also happens to be Teal Town USA Day at the Tank.
I will be there.
March 9th. Come on down. Watching some Blues Sharks hockey at 1:00. Gonna have a little post game there, and those of you who got a ticket will all be live, and then afterwards we'll watch a little Barracuda. So, couple of little So, I'm sorry. You know what? I was very wrong in that. Here we go. Little Barracuda, who are killing it, by the way, in the AHL.
Yay!
Good for them.
Just letting you know. Hey, and fun fact: the Barracuda play the Colorado Condors tomorrow, and it's going to be Cleveland Barons night tomorrow. And this is really cool. There's a few people like your boy Steve Cropper gonna be there showing off some Barons old school. It's gonna be a little bit of a museum tomorrow, is what I'm getting between Steve and Mitch. There's going to be a decent amount of, Cleveland Barons merch. Also, should point out, Doug Murray and Jonathan Chichu are going to be involved in tomorrow night's game. So I wanted to point that out. So CUDA tomorrow, 5:00 game start. Get out there early, because if you want one of those cool little, Barons jerseys, got to be out there. First 4,000 in. Okay, let's get back to tonight's game. Paul Martin retired. How much of anything did you pour out for that, Rock?
A little bit. Hey, 30 likes between now and the end of the broadcast, or between now and the end of the scripted broadcast, and we'll get the Kayla Cam going. Let's do this, people.
Yeah, let's get some more likes.
I want
50
it.
people watching, only 8 likes. Come on, what's wrong with you people?
30 likes. Let's get to 30. And we get the Kayla Cam. Tell your friends.
Let's do 65. How about that?
Yeah.
Let's start reasonable.
Now let me throw this out there. It was only Dylan Gambrell's second game of the season. He played 3 at the end of the season last year, but only a second game this time. Rourke Chartier, of course, heads up to the press box. Well, actually, no, Chartier didn't end up to the press box. He went down to the CUDA. So this is the second time that Charch gets sent down. Gambrell gets called up. Now let's remember, the last time Chart got sent down, he came back and scored his first NHL goal. Do you think, Alex, that this is going to be something similar, that we see Chartier back on Tuesday versus Edmonton? Or do you think that Gambrell's, played well enough, it's kind of like, no, let's give this kid another game?
I believe Gambrell was on the playoff roster last year,
yes.
So I think the Sharks have a bigger plans for Gambrell than Couture, even though I've loved his effort.
I'm sorry, Gambrell has a better plan instead of who?
I mean, just in terms of future prospects in terms of Gambrell.
Yeah, no, I just want you to say his name. What did you just say? Number 60. What's his name?
No.
Really?
Oh, man.
Chartier.
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 He's a smooth operator.
A smooth operator. Oh, wow. Okay. Do you smell that? I smell a new hashtag courtesy of Rocket Backhander. Go ahead, Alex.
Where was I at? I think Gambrell's going to be off and on in the NHL for a couple of games. I actually would prefer Gambrell in the Barracuda, because I think he just needs more experience. But I've loved both those players' effort this year on the team so far. Yeah. I don't even want to say the name.
Oh, man. He can't do it. Okay. Well, we'll see what happens. I'd like to see Gambrell get another opportunity versus Edmonton. And this is a beautiful segue, because I think we've kind of tied this game up into a bow. Again, beautiful response from the Sharks. Twofold. First off, of course, kind of retribution for losing 4-0 to St. Louis just 8 days ago, but also a pretty decent response after looking solid for about 25 minutes versus Toronto, and then the defense and Jones, just everything kind of going to hell in a handbasket versus Toronto. So I like the response. Again, 2 more at home before they head out on a roadie. So let's dial it up. The PK tonight, solid, absolutely solid. I mean, the Blues only got one opportunity. I think it was a couple, they probably should have gotten more than one opportunity. Conversely, the Sharks 1 for 2 on the power play. I think they should have had more opportunities on the power play. Shots on goal nearly even, 30-29 in favor of the Blues. The face-off circle. The Sharks did not start off well. They started off on the minus, as I said earlier, 45%. They flipped it by the end of the game, 53% in favor of the Sharks. Hits, 23-19. Fun fact, second consecutive game that the Sharks have out-hit their opponent, which is something you don't see very often. They blocked more shots, 18-15. However, giveaways, 9-5. That's what's going to happen from time to time. But let's dial in the minutes for just a second. Yoki Ryan. We're talking about a guy who versus Dallas just a week and a half ago played 5 minutes, 21 seconds, and then got benched and then got scratched. Tonight, Yoki Ryan played 19-13. And fun fact, was not at the bottom of the minute distribution. Dylan, 18-24 was the bottom. Brent Burns was second, 18-51. So figure that one out, kids. But of course, 20-55, Erik Karlsson leading the Sharks defense. But look at that, though. That's the factor of the Sharks going in to the second half of the game up 4-0. That affords PDB the opportunity to give the quote unquote lower tier guys more opportunity to get out there, and that can do nothing but help those guys. There was nobody on this team tonight for the Sharks that played single digit minutes for their game. You don't see that all the time. I'm just saying. So game 21 in the books versus the Blues. Next up, Edmonton on Tuesday. And here's something that I wanted to point it out. I'm going to be speaking with the bald guy. If you remember, his name was Drew Remenda. He used to hang out with Randy Hahn from time to time. I'm going to be speaking with him on Monday night, talking about both what the Sharks look like here at the quarter pole of the season, but also a preview of the game the following night versus Edmonton. So if you have some questions for the bald guy, for Drew Remenda, do me a favor, hit me up on Twitter. If we follow each other, slide into my DMs. If we don't follow each other, just shoot me a message within reason. Don't ask me something silly, because I'm not going to answer, and I'm not going to ask Drew that question. But if you have something worthwhile, absolutely. And with that, still a stud muffin. Always a stud muffin. But can we just talk about the one thing that kind of took off tonight? When Greg Wyszynski retweets you, it's something that you need to talk about. And so I did save this for last. And before we kind of finish off the game and finish off the show with this, Sharks graphics department, I mean, really, just really. When Erik Karlsson scored his goal tonight at 3:34 of the second period, of course, the Sharks throw on the Jumbotron. Beautiful graphic, very studly graphic, head to toe of Erik Karlsson holding the stick and top to bottom, lid, jersey, socks, skates, everything. And behind him, his name, ERIC. Sharks graphics department, you have one job.
And 65 days.
65 days. And you blew it, is basically. And so Puck Guy 14 was kind enough to pass that on the DM to us. And I said, there's no way that's correct. And yes, in fact, it was. And so, of course, I tweeted it out. And thanks to our friend Gen X, who I think pushed that tweet over to Wisniewski, he retweeted me, and then my Twitter blew up and I picked up like 8 followers. So thank you. But I just don't understand how you messed that up. Oh, Puck Guy 14 spelled PUKCGUI.
Where are we at with the likes? Have we hit 20 yet?
Let's check.
Oh, I don't know. You mean Erik Karlsson, spelled ERICCUHRE?
We are at 17
17. We're halfway there.
and 1 dislike.
Ah, how rude.
Jeez.
Yes. Okay. So again, you can't get too overwhelmed by this. I think this is a great response by the Sharks, and it literally was kind of a mirror image. It's a one team picking up another team when then the second of back-to-backs on the road. Final score is the exact same. I do want to talk about, though, that it is kind of funny that so far there have been 2 games, or I shouldn't say 2 games. There have been 2 opponents, 4 games, where the Sharks have played them at home and on the road, and the games have been very, very similar. You saw the Sharks go to Nashville, come back, and win the game 5-4. Then you saw the Predators come to SAP, get the lead, and still lose 5-4, while Joe Thornton would net his 400th to tie the game. And then tonight, the Sharks win 4-0, despite 8 days ago losing 4-0 to the exact same team. I love it when things just kind of balance themselves out like that, Rocket.
Yeah, it's the hockey gods. That's the way it works. Like I know we're at the quarter pole of the season and everything else like that, but you have to, at least not you, but I have to stop and realize that, we're at November. We haven't even hit New Year's. There's still so much of
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it's still so early in the season. There's so much left. Pace yourselves, people. The poop storm is still brewing, and it's on the horizon. We have not yet entered it, nor have we entered the eye of the poop storm. But there's something we're going to run into during regular season,
Yeah,
so,
it's almost way too early to talk about playoffs.
Yeah, so
playoffs.
But so the balance of it being 4-0 either way, I think, is a small way of the regular season.
It's what I refer to as harmonic harmony, which sure. I just like that. And Chris S mentioning that we are still 10 likes away from world peace. Alex?
I think this has been an up and down first quarter of the season, but if the Sharks have had this much struggle with Erik Karlsson and they're still leading the Pacific Division,
how bad is the Pacific Division?
I'm not gonna say it's really bad, but
it's really bad.
I think this year alone, a lot of teams like Kings, especially Ducks, they've actually overperformed with how much talent they have. But I think compared to the other divisions in the league, I think Pacific is probably the worst or up there, which is not
great.
Not what we're come to used to.
We're 5 likes away from Kayla Cam, you guys.
But I do wonder though, do you foresee when we get to the trade deadline, the Sharks making moves and trading away some of their defensive cores, like potentially Ryan, potentially even Braun, to bring in someone like a forward to at least give the Sharks more speed?
I think Wilson makes that play, but it's all, of course, dependent on where the Sharks are at that point. If they'd been rolling and over their last 10 games leading up to it, they're like 8-1-1, and they're really trending upwards, and players like Braun or Ryan are kind of, stragglers at the end of the bus. Like, they're still kind of part of it, but, they're not the ones driving it. Then maybe you see that. Maybe you see Wilson go out and try to get somebody to, I don't know, kind of like something similar to like an Eric Fair or something like that. I could see that. But again, it's that whole deal of small sample size, and that's 35 games from now. So
yeah, I kind of agree with you, just because if they're going to trade for someone, it's going to be a 1-year rental. And judging by Wilson's previous history, they don't have the draft picks, and I don't think they have enough cap to get a big enough talent for that.
They're going to trade for Nylander.
Yeah, Nylander. Yeah,
who's going to walk away at the end of the season and go back to Toronto?
Yeah.
They could trade for Mikkel Bakker again. You never know.
You can leave the chat right now.
You shut your damn mouth.
Yeah. Bye.
But right now, I mean, projected cap space right now is less than $1 million. So I don't know what they're going to do. But anyway, I think it's, it just happens to be that time, kids. So let's get into it.
Have the goddamn common courtesy to give him a reach around.
There you go. It's time to head out around the league. Find out what else is happening outside of Sharks world. And we will start in New Jersey, where the 500 Devils at 8-8-2 pick up a loss in overtime to the 500 Red Wings at 9-9-2. Bernier would pick up the victory over Kincaid. Glendenning would start this off, and Coleman would get a shorty for the Devils, but it wasn't enough to beat the Wings. We moved down to probably the game of the night, Lightning 6-5 over the Flyers in overtime. Now, remember, Marlowe and the Maple Leafs took the top spot in all of the NHL versus the Sharks when they overtook the Lightning and the Predators for the top spot in the NHL. So for the Lightning to come back in this one, holy hell. This was, I mean, any game that you can go to and see 11 goals scored, you sit there, of course, and say, what the hell's wrong with these goalies? What the hell's wrong with the defense? But maybe there's just some really good offense going on. Just saying. But Cirelli would score a minute 47 into the overtime to finish that off for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So go check that out. Buffalo would head down to the Wild, and you talk about two evenly matched teams, both of them 12-6-2, but the Sabres would be victorious in Minnesota 3-2. Dubnyk picking up the loss, and I'm not going to do the silly Pominville thing that Eric likes to do, but Pominville did score. We move over to that city where a team called the Canucks play, because nobody said it. The Canadians would be victorious over the Canucks. Carey Price picking up the win. Markstrom picking up the loss. Elias Pettersson picking up his 11th. That kid is killing it. Pettersson, Brock Besser, and Rockets' favorite player, Vernon. Those are going to be some fun players to watch for the Canucks. We all saw them just completely, pour one out for the Canucks. But, they do have some talent on there. They could be fun to watch. They could be that fart in the elevator of a team, is what I'm saying. The Ottawa Senators, that team that loves to take Uber, victorious at home versus the Penguins. Kind of nice. Now, not Fleury. What's the kid's name? Murray. Yeah. Murray, yeah. Murray did not get the start. DeSmith, the Penguins not respecting the Senators enough. They went with DeSmith in goal. Letang would start it off, but it would not be enough. Duchesne would get 2 in these. Stone would get a shorthanded goal, but Duchesne, the guy who loves to talk in the passenger seat of an Uber, would pot 2 in this one. Anderson getting the victory. 6-4 Sens over Pens. Then we go to Manhattan, where the Rangers would pick up a 4-2 victory over the Panthers. Rangers starting to, go at least the right way. Lundqvist over Luongo in this one. The Hurricanes would go down 4-1 to the Blue Jackets. The Blue Jackets killing it right now. Bobrovsky over Darling. Atkinson with a hat trick in this one. One of them coming on the power play. The Blue Jackets are starting to scare me. I'm not going to lie, people. The Bruins go down to the desert, face the Dogs, and pick up a 2-1 victory. Halak over Kemper. The Predators give the Kings another damn loss. At some point, I feel like we need to hold a what do you call that? A pool or whatever, some sort of betting pool. Like, at what game is it going that the Kings actually hit double digits on victories? But Pekka Rinne would pick up a win over Peterson. And again, being the goaltender for the Kings is like the drummer for Spinal Tap. You never know who it's going to be. At least Kopitar would get on the board. But again, another night for hat tricks. Yarncroc would pick up a hat trick, one of them coming on. Well, this is actually one of those historic ones. Yarncroc would go even strength, then power play, then shorthanded goal. So not only does that, he gets the game winner in that game, thinking he probably got the number 1 star in that. And then finally,
hold on. Yep. It's pronounced Kelly Yarncroc.
Yarncroc, whatever.
Yarncroc.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yarncroc. Croak. Okay. And then in Calgary, the Flames pick up a 4-2 victory over the Oilers. I really got to wonder how much longer Todd McClellan has with this 500 team at 9-1.
They're only 3 points out of a playoff spot.
Only 3 points out, but also still only 500 with the best player in the league. You have to think about that. Lindholm picking up the game tying and game winner in this one for the Flames. Alex, go ahead.
I was just going to say that when we started the predictions of this season, I had Edmonton finishing the bottom of the Western Conference. I just think they didn't have enough talent. So I think they might just be a team that is on the edge of the wild card, and maybe that's good enough for Todd McClellan, get another draft pick. But I thought with the talent they have, this is not a bad record so far.
We'll see. Gen X saying 9-1 is not 500. Okay, calm down. I understand what you're saying. It's still, it's still mediocre fucking flatline hockey.
Now, okay? What about Vegas?
What about Vegas?
What about them?
Do you see them bouncing back?
No.
Really?
Yes.
No, I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying that James Neal and Perron were that big of, the components to make that team successful. But I think it's one of those things where it's just kind of like, what? Last season was a freaking anomaly. It wouldn't surprise me if they not only missed the playoffs this season, if they missed the playoffs for the next 5 seasons. It wouldn't surprise me. We know Edmonton's on the come up. Calgary's on the come up. San Jose, let's see what Doug Wilson, what magic he pulls off. I don't have faith in LA. I don't have faith in Anaheim. I think they're, on the downward trajectory. But I also think, despite everything that Hockey Jerk has ever told me, I do have some kind of good feelings about Arizona right now. So with that, go ahead and vamp. Talk amongst yourselves.
What has been one of the surprises for you, Rocket, this season?
Surprises this season. I am more than a little bit nervous about Erik Karlsson not fitting into the system. I kind of wonder if maybe having Burns and Karlsson on the same system kind of throws a little bit of a wrench in the mechanics of it all, if you know what I mean. It's almost like too many chefs and not enough ingredients to create good creative defense. Or maybe I don't know. I know the guy's a freaking Norris Trophy winner, so he's not hot garbage, but he's been out there on the ice for some serious breakaways that make him look like a doof. And so it's got to make you wonder, is it him or is it maybe what he's being asked to do? So,
or who he's paired with. Because
I don't think so.
Dylan's been playing pretty well. It's just maybe Carlos is not the right pairing for him.
No, I don't think that there's any tire fires on the blue line this year. Burns has some questionable looks, but I mean, sometimes Erik Karlsson makes some questionable moves that makes Burns look outright responsible. And I'm not quite sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. That's the thing that's been the most surprising for me this season, and I wish it were a positive. I would really prefer it to be a positive thing. But surprise is surprise, not necessarily positive. So
I think the Sharks defensively made some good choices tonight. And when I say that, I'm talking about the quote-unquote lower-tier guys. There was a couple times where Dylan played the man instead of the puck and got the puck, the puck squirted out, got to where it needed to go. There was some good things that we saw from the Sharks defense tonight. Now, the fun thing is I sit there and I talk about Arizona on a good trajectory, and that's a team that might have to look forward to in 3 to 4 years. But of course, we're not going to have to worry about them because they're going to be in a different division while we beat the hell out of Seattle. That's all I'm saying.
When's that going to get announced? Is that in January?
They got to make the announcement that they're going to make the announcement first, though.
Yes, of course. So with that, I think we're all done. So let's wrap this up here. Again, thank you very much for watching the show. We go live after every single Sharks game. We sometimes go live just for the giggles of it and have some interesting things to say. Again, going to be talking to Drew Remenda on Monday about the Sharks at the quarter pole, about the game versus the Edmonton Oilers on Tuesday. And of course, you can find us here on YouTube talking about the Edmonton Oilers and San Jose Sharks game immediately following that game. So with that, we will go to Alex Martinet, your final thoughts on where the people can find you on the Soch.
You can find me on Twitter at Al Martinet if you want to talk hockey there. Final thoughts. Couture had 3 points tonight. Been solid all the way around this season. I just hope they're more consistent. They just start having 2 to 3 game winning streaks. It's been kind of rough the past couple games, but solid effort. 4-0 is really good against the Blues team. I think could sneak into the playoffs. They have the talent, just maybe not the goaltending. So really good game overall.
Cool. Gen X asking in the chat, ask Drew why he doesn't answer my texts. Well, if you own a mirror, I think you might be able to answer that one yourself. Rocket, go ahead.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rocket Backhander, and if you are so inclined, you can find me on Twitter at rbackhander76. That's capital R, capital B, little Ackhander 76. I tweet a lot about hockey, sometimes about makeup and art and other weird things, and general grumblings about how much worse traffic is in Nashville than it is in Palo Alto, which crazily enough is true. On a level I didn't realize was possible outside of Southern California. It's miserable here and I hate it. Anyway, so I try not to be miserable on my Twitter. I promise. I'm not a miserable person. The traffic is miserable. I'm a wonderful person. And you can check out my pictures too that will prove I'm a wonderful person on Instagram, Rocket Backhander, one word. My final thoughts are, hey man, quarter pole, we still got 75% or a little bit more left in the regular season. These are my Sharks. Good, bad, ugly. They make my hair white every year. And yet I somehow keep doing this to myself. So thanks, Sharks, for keeping me being a masochist. AJ?
Cool.
Oh man. On the Instagram, on the Twitter, AJ_strong. Come follow me. Teal Town USA on the Instagram. Also throwing up some shots for that. As always, do us a favor. Check out the website, tealtownusa.com. Hit the little subscribe button. I'm sure it's somewhere like right over there. Might be right over there, but there's a little button that says subscribe. Hit that button if you please. Hit the notification bell because we do go live after every Sharks game, but also randomly whenever Rocket sends me a text and says, AJ, you up? So it will happen from time to time. So with that, thank you for coming out. I have to promote it one more time. Go see the Barracuda tomorrow. Game at 5 o'clock. Be one of the first 4,000. You get a Cleveland Barons jersey. So go check that out tomorrow at the Tank. And with that, we will see you after the Edmonton Oilers game on Tuesday. Keep it real, keep it teal, and keep it real teal.
Way to keep doing whatever it is you're doing.